Just watching Resolute Bay walk back into the barn. Kirby just arrived with Resolute Bay. Now, talked about all the 2-year-olds. Talked a long opening statement. There's Locatelli. Long opening statement, talked about the 2-year-olds. I want to talk about the 3-year-olds, give everybody an update where everybody's at, what they're doing, talk about the aged horses. This is another week where making the burns doesn't really help. We have horses moving around all over the place. It makes it difficult for me to tell you what took place this week, what's taking place next week, when horses are changing all over the place. And as we, this should be the last week or two where we have a number of horses moving around. There'll be some horses settling in Ohio. Maybe some horses going over to Tim. I know Eldis Patrick is going to go to the Meadows. He'll be in for $8,000 or $10,000 or whatever, wherever we can race him for him to be confident, consistent again. I'd love to do good by the horse, and man, he's just having a rough go right now. So we are going to have some horses moving around in that regard. Some new horses coming in. Hunted House is now at Harry's Barn. He's going to race next week. JK Victory is at Harry's Barn. He's going to race probably the week after. Some horses we had to switch around this week. Turned a couple of horses out. Brought a couple of horses in, trying to get them ready for the New Holland Series, or the Graduate coming up in April, the Ontario Graduate 4-year-old series. So just a ton of things going on. But let me get to it. Let me get to the 3-year-olds. Absolute Euphoria is still swimming every day. She'll start the hybrid of swimming and jogging, and then we'll x-ray that knee this week. See if that line is gone. I'm sure it is. It wasn't that bad anyway to begin with. We'd have the hell in the pool today. Who's the other horse that goes in? Unbeatable Kemp is going to start that hybrid jogging and pool work. Lady All-Star also is going to do the same. So I'm interested and very intrigued to see how that's going to play out, because it isn't something we've had before. We've had horses in the pool, then we brought them back to the farm if we were at Tamiko and started jogging them. We've never actually integrated both at the same time, so I'm very interested to see what's going to happen there. So Absolute Euphoria, swimming, x-ray, back on the track. Austral Hanover trained this week, made a break on Jason on the front end, but if our memory serves me right, even warming up, you had to watch him in the straightaways. I'd wore a Murphy blind on the outside of him for a while, plus bell boots, plus trotting hobbles. The latter two were not on him the other day, so not really Jason's fault, and I don't really care. The horse has got lots of time, no rush at all with Austral Hanover. Brace for Landing looks good now. He's been back in a couple of weeks. We'll probably turn him, go a mile with him. They likely won't this week when we're gone away, so it'll be the week after that we'll start training him full-time. Carter Michael Dio is back in training now. He is monstrous. He looks huge on the track. Cash Deals is qualifying on Monday. Schooled her the other day in 2-1. Mario said she looked very good. He was very happy with her. We'll see how she looks on Monday morning from Mohawk. Now, I'll be in flight at the time, but I'm sure I'll get an update when we land. Columbus, all those horses are coming back. I'm going to start moving the 3-sale horses down to Springhaven. They're going to take care of the whole thing. Springhaven, many of you know, are not only breeders, not only people we do business with, but they own some horses with us. They still own a few shares of Swinging Senorita. They bred her. They still own some shares of High Enterprise. Bred her also. Not quite the same. Pretty much bookends of what we're talking about. And I believe they kept some shares of something with us this year. I can't remember. Sanina and Jeff, great people, do a great job, raise their horses really, really well. And when we send our horses to the Ohio sale, usually have Springhaven consign them and take care of them. This year will be the first year where maybe a week in advance we're just going to send them right to Springhaven, say just take them into the sale, and away you go. So Columbus, when we do that, Columbus, full hard, and those horses can come back up to Ohio. So you'll see next Thursday probably, you'll see Columbus, Full Heart, High Enterprise, and oh my gosh, return to Northfield Park. And I'll be as frank as I can, those 4 horses need to do it a lot better if they're going to stay members of the stable.ca throughout the 2023 season. They've been training, by the way, in Thornville. So that was Columbus. Coupe de Ville, Jason said she could be a little rude going out the doorway. Now, I'm going to go over there next week when Jason has gone away. Not next week, the week after. Jason and his girlfriend are gone away for a week. I'm going to be full-time in Ohio for that week. We'll see if we can't get Coupe de Ville's attitude. And globetrotting used to be the same way for Jason also. Act up and, try and run out the door. Just do stupid stuff going out the door. On the track, perfect. Getting him to the track, not so perfect. So see if we can chip away at the bad habits she's formed over the last little while. Crantini looked great the other day when I went with him. Now, I didn't go with him today or yesterday. It was freezing cold. He went out in the field. He went on the walker this morning. And I had told him, just leave him alone till I get back. Don't jog him. Just put him on the walker every day for 20-25 minutes. As I said, I am the warden, and he is going to be residing in my prison yard for the next 60 to 70 days. So I was very happy. We came to an agreement, hopefully, the other day. Now, I'm sure his default will be a little ignorance the first time we jog him back. But when it comes to Crantini right now, the last day I went with him, which was 3 days ago, in the jog cart, he was perfect. I actually trained him a mile in 2:51, which was like a mile in 4 minutes for other horses. He just floats over the ground. My hope is that we can not only come to an agreement, but lock in a contract where this is how you're going to behave from now on, and this is what you'll receive in doing so. So I'm happy with what I've seen from Crantini in his most recent jogging and training mile was very, very good. Very happy with what I've seen. So hopefully he can keep that going. Cunning Connie continues to be close to the races and train down good. She's a good-looking filly this year. Still has that attitude. She still kicks the walls, and she has her moments where she can be rude. But nice gait, big, strong filly. Hoping for a good year from her. Cutie Cumber looked amazing training the other day. Marco had messaged me. I think he was a little incensed that I told him that I blew by Tailgate Buzz. So let me set the table for everybody. First and foremost, Cutie Cumber was one of our best horses training down last year. Her knee started to hurt her, and she ended up with quite a shortened season. We gave her all the time in the world to come back, and she comes back and looks like a tank. Cutie Cumber is supposed to beat most of our 3-year-olds by breeding, and by memory, she was one of our best horses last year training down. Now, didn't come to fruition. I think she raced once, trotted 58 or 59, and we shut her down. I think it was only once, maybe twice at the most, and brought her back. Now, Tailgate Buzz had a great year, but Tailgate Buzz, again, Jason Merriman going with him for the first time, didn't really know him, put him in a position where we left to sprint, and I out-sprinted him. But again, he doesn't know Tailgate Buzz. Tailgate Buzz did break a shoe coming to the 5/8 pole, flip-flop come off. The shoe was there, the flip-flop came off. So I had said, I blew by him down the lane, and Marco, it seemed like he was a little incensed with that. And I said, first off, no one knows what any of the horses are going to do. I don't really care about the training right now. It means nothing. They're still weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks away from racing, and I'm not really that worried about it. And I guess to sprinkle a little bit of happiness on the whole thing for everybody involved, Cutie Cumber is no slouch, in case you're wondering. And for the people that might come back and say, well, she's no Tailgate Buzz, she absolutely could be Tailgate Buzz and very more, and Austral Hanover and a lot of horses in this barn. She is no joke, a very, very, very good horse in her own right. So the first takeaway from my message the other day to everybody is simple. I don't care how they train right now. It's simple, remedial work. Means zero to me at all. He did his work well. He went out, he trotted well, same way I remember him. He looked good finishing up. I guess more of a takeaway would be for the people that own Cutie Cumber and say, she looks like she's staying sound and she's really put together well, and she's got it all going on now. That would be the big takeaway, I guess, for the horse that never got a chance to race and do her work last year. The guy who's already done everything great all year in Tailgate Buzz, I'm not worried about Tailgate Buzz. Not in the least. Could care less how he trained the other day. Mechanically, he's proper. I know he'll get there. Don't worry about it. So, again, my apologies if sometimes the videos come off like I'm downgrading or downplaying one horse. I'm not. I don't care how Austral Hanover looks. I don't care how Tailgate Buzz looks right now. Just let them go out and do the work, because I know when push comes to shove and we drop the hammer and they roll in behind the gate, those two colts, they're going to show up. Of that, I am 1,000% certain. Five Fish Species. I can't believe how big she looks. You talk about downplaying. Jeff Ruck, I gushed about how good he had the horse looking when she came back, and even he messaged me and said, I don't think I sent her back that good. Philly put on hundreds of pounds and literally looks like she grew an entire size. Like, she was a medium-sized filly that could look good. Now she looks big. Her head seems like it's as big as this engine bonnet. She looks amazing on the track. Now, I haven't seen her on the track. I haven't seen her jog. She hasn't started training yet. She'll start training next week. I have not seen her. But I can tell you, looking at her in the barn, massive improvement from Five Fish Species' skeleton, from her body. Huge weight on her now. Lots of muscle on her. She looks very, very, very good. Full Heart, I don't know. I haven't seen her yet. But again, she's one of the fantastic four there that really has to put it together. They are on the shortest of short leashes. Oh my gosh. High Enterprise, Full Heart, Columbus. I hope they watch these videos, because there is no joke. You know, they need to do it a lot better as they start to train down. They're not going to make it through March if they can't show me a lot more in February. Of that, I can almost guarantee you. Gandalf the Black has been great. I said to Dominic, you know, there's no rush to get them ready. If we had to, we could have them ready in 2 weeks. Easily. Gandalf the Black looks amazing on the track. He's training good. He was rough one day on Greg about 3-4 weeks ago, and Dominic had made a little shoeing change on him. He was immediately better. Immediately better. The horse looked good, looked happy, looked sound, sharp on the track, and I was very, very happy with what I saw from Gandalf the Black, and he's trained great. Now, his training partner, one of them for sure, has been Hornplayer, and she also looks very good on the track. Super happy with what I've seen from Hornplayer. But Gandalf, we're going to start with Gandalf. Gandalf the Black has been in 212, coming off in 6. And as I said to you guys, the track at First Line is deep, very deep, and I can see how they work through it. In fact, I know that Harry said he trained Sister Solange 2 or 3 times in 212, and she was okay. I trained her in 2-3, coming out 57 in a piece at Northfield the other day, and she was much more than okay. And I think that's because the track at Stutzman's is a little deep, which is fine. Perfectly fine. A lot more work to be done through it. So that leads me to believe that Gandalf, if we push game to shove, we took him to Mohawk, he could probably train as much as you want to train. Probably 2-2, 2-3 right now, no problem. We'll probably Dominic will probably take them down, go a mile in 2-5 or 2-6 this week, if I believe that is the direction he's headed in. But Gandalf has looked great. High Enterprise has not, and I haven't seen her this year, but I don't think she strikes me as one of the leopards that just won't change her stripes and her spots. Her spots. This is a filly. She was my pick of the entire Ohio sale, and I'm going to own that. That's the way it is. You can't always be right. So far, she's let me down immensely, but that can change. That can change any single minute. So we'll see how High Enterprise handles February at Northfield Park, and that will really tell the story of where she's going to spend March, to be quite frank. Hornplayer, as I said a minute ago, has been training great. Very happy with her. I know I staked her a little heavier. I just couldn't not stake her heavier the way she's looking on the track. No hobbles, no nothing, and training very, very good. I've been very happy with her. Lady All-Star, we've moved her to a hybrid pool. Her knees bother her from time to time. You guys know that. A couple of people seemed surprised that I said that last week, and I said, well, we stopped with her when she was 2 because her knees were hurting her and one ankle behind was hurting her. They filled out nicely, but she still is just a baby. She literally has just moved into her 3-year-old season. So 2 years and 1 month, if that. I think this filly, we just have to be careful. The same thing we did with Stonebridge Acadi. His knees were every bit as bad or worse than hers. And take your time. When they tell you to slow down, slow down. So she started to start off a little bit on the left line, a little bumpy left front. We had her x-ray. There was a tiny little line there, but it's an old line. It's been there forever. I said, okay, so no problem. We injected her knees, gave her a few days. We're going to start jogging her, swimming her, and training her. We're integrated all together so it's a little easier on her joints, and see if that will help her get to the races in a more proactive way. And that's what we're going to do with Lady All-Star. I don't see that as being a problem, and I don't think anybody else should either. Landing Pad, I thought he was training great. I trained him the other day, and I thought he was okay. I think he just needs to be stronger. And now, after seeing how that filly trained at Northfield, I'm wondering if maybe the track's a little deep for Landing Pad. So I'm curious if Dominic takes him. That's one horse. I want to hear about how they all train at Mohawk, but that's one horse I definitely want to hear how he trains at Mohawk. Landing Strip looks amazing too. He's put on 150 pounds. He's at Northfield. He probably won't start training for another week or two. Maybe when I get back, I'll start going with him. Also, Leaps and Bounds, we trained the other day. Man, she looks so good. Sir Strong, I couldn't catch her. It was Sir Strong, and I like Sir Strong. He was a little bumpy. We'll talk about him in a minute, but Leaps and Bounds was very, very good, and she has grown more than any horse we've had that we turned out at 2 and brought back at 3. She's 4 inches taller and 150 pounds heavier than she was before. She looks very, very good on the track. Merchant Man, poor bugger, he keeps bumping around. Harry doesn't have any stalls. He may have to go back to Dominic's side, or he may even have to go back over to Ohio or something. He's kind of, and there's nothing wrong with him. It's just training down where we buying horses and bringing them back in. I can't not bring Locatelli in because Merchant Man's in a stall, and Harry only has 10 or 11 stalls. We really only have a very finite number to work with when it comes to stalls at First Line Training Center, and we do have to move some of the horses sometimes. So Merchant Man, I think they have enough stalls there right now. He's been in 230, but Harry's going to take his time with this guy. I watched him train his last 2. He made a break in the turn. He didn't have the hobbles on him, and I don't think he needs to have the hobbles on right now, but he's a taller colt now. His stifles probably need to be blistered up, and we could probably Baycox him and help him out. But right now he's just putting work in. I think he's a good 5 weeks from racing. There's no point in trying to race him in those series. I have no interest in having Merchant Man. Just get him to the track and we'll race him. No, not him. This was a colt that exhibited talent, and I'm going to ensure that by the time we get to the races, either he gets to flaunt that, all of it, that he can, or he's going to switch gears and be put in a position where it's, grassroots, overnights, sell him if we have to, and he's as close to one path as the other right now. He's coming up to a fork in the road, but he hasn't even reached that fork yet. We're just continue to put the work into him right now, and that's what he needs. So whether that's at Harry's or Dominic's or Jason's or Tim's, that's the same for everywhere. But I do want to keep a kind of a closer eye on him. So keeping him here in Ontario would be my first option. Keeping him in Harry's barn also would be for now, but we'll see how that plays out over the next 3 weeks. So a little different situation with him. Mo Power Baby has been good now. We put her in a set the other day and she did make a noise and made a break on Jason. So rather than, say to Jason, you got to put the snake cord on her in the hood, you can't do this, you can't do that, I just said, train her by herself. She already knows what to do. She's been in enough races. She was great training down last year. Just don't stress her out. Just train her by herself. So that's what we're going to do for Mo Power Baby. More Than You Know was close. Mario said he trained great on Wednesday. I trained him Saturday with him of last week, so a week ago. 212 last half in 5, I think, 4 on the jog cart with him and the big colt, World for 2. I suspect he trained them in 2.8 this week. He can start probably going to Mohawk soon with them. Just another couple of weeks of some heavy training. And I know Tom and a couple of people have really been pushing me on World for 2. Guys, you don't want to see the horses get to the races earlier than they should be. And I know that's hard to understand. You say, well, this horse got there in this time. And I talked to this guy and he said the horse should be ready now. I don't care what any of your friends say or what anybody does. I don't care what the calendar says he should be ready here. None of that matters. I'm only listening to one entity, and that's the horse. Same as Mario. Mario's saying, I saw World for 2 train. He looked great the other day. I thought More Than You Know was a couple of weeks behind him. They're probably both ready to maybe go to Mohawk very, very soon, this week or the week after, but they're not ready to go in 51, right? World for 2 is going to pace 52, 53, 54 every week when we get him going. So until he's ready, where I'm saying he's ready to rock, it's going to be that holding pattern. They're going to be circling the airport until they're ready to land. And neither of those horses are ready to land just yet. Very, very close, but not quite there yet. So More Than You Know, as I said, getting close. Really like the way he looks. I would like to see another 2 weeks of heavy, heavy training into him. Put some more weight on him. Emily's doing a tremendous job with that horse also. So her and Mario got both World for 2 and More Than You Know looking very good. My 1%, big vet ball on this guy last week. I apologize, or last month. I apologize. We were trying to get to the bottom of his mechanics. It's very subtle, the issues he's having. Those breaks he's making are not obvious. You don't see them coming a mile away. It's very hard to hold them together when he does put them. That feels to me like pain, but when we looked at him, his 4 ankles were all a little reactive and a little rough. Is that the corks? It could be. So I'll be very frank with everybody. I told Dominic, you and James school him on Monday. If he doesn't feel any better and he makes a break, then we'll just turn him out in the field for 3 weeks. Bring him back in when the corks come off. It's the easiest fix right now for him. I'm not giving up on him and just dumping him, because there is some talent in there. He's a maiden. He's only raced a couple of times and broke. So let's get him right and get him back going. So if it's the corks, then we're just going to stop with him and bring him back in a month when the corks are ready to come off. Nothing But a Dreamer. The horse looks incredible. If anything, I fielded concerns that maybe we didn't stake him heavy enough. Now, for everybody out there that wants to go to the Hamiltonian or the Breeders' Crown, first off, the Breeders' Crown, the only way to get him in it, because he wasn't paid in as a baby, is to supplement him for $10,600. We're not doing that, so he's not going to the Breeders' Crown. It's not the end of the world. There's a million stakes for Nothing But a Dreamer. And the Hamiltonian, Nothing But a Dreamer did bleed a couple of times last year. We talked about it subtly in the summer. A couple of flecks of red there. I have zero interest in racing a horse in the heat, not on Lasix, when he very, very well may be a Lasix horse by then. You're only going to put him in a bad position. Think about it this way. Any starts you race a horse where they're bleeding or they're sick, it takes away from their overall ability to recover and further starts later on in the year. They tire out a little bit quicker. And the last thing we want is this guy tiring out at all. So he's going to stay pretty close to home. We're going to stake him heavy here, but he's not going to Hamiltonian. He's not going to the Breeders' Crown for a number of reasons, but most definitely for the two that I just outlined to you. But he is going to be staked very heavily here in Ontario. This is a beautiful horse with a bright future in front of him. I can't wait to see him race this year. Oh my gosh, future not so bright. Not so bright at all just yet. He's got a lot of work to do. I know my partner on the horse, Al, called me a number of times, texting me from Illinois, wondering when are we going to pull the pin on this guy, either get him going or get rid of him. Great question. A little early for us to just say, all right, we gave him time off. If we were just going to dump him, we should have dumped him last year before we stopped with him. Now that we got him back going, give us 3 weeks with him at Northfield Park. Really work him hard and say, okay, this is just not going to work out. We're not going any further with him. Or, you know what, he's really close. Let's qualify him in another few weeks and see how he is. So the month of February will tell the story for all 4 of those horses that are in Columbus currently. They're in Thornville currently, whether they continue on with us or whether they end up going to somebody else. And I mean ownership, not training. Sir Strong, bumpier the other day, but trained great the week before. So is it his stifles were a little bit sore after he trained the first time? Was it the track a little bit hard? Do we have to work on this guy? Yes, you're going to see him be a little bumpy when he gets to the races, but I love his attitude and he can really dance. So I'm not too concerned about Sir Strong just yet. And if it is going to be a problem to train him at Northfield, if he is going to get out of gear, fine, we'll just ship him home and train him right here on a 5/8 mile track and race him at Mohawk if we want, if that's what we want to do. I don't think we're there yet, but we definitely have passed forward for Sir Strong. Sister Solange, Harry said, was training good, but I got the feeling he thought she was okay, right? And she is a little shallow. Like, she doesn't have that giant exterior to her. She's a very frail and dainty filly, but she can dance. The training trip she went the other day at Northfield, very, very impressive mile. She's going to school. Now, we had the hobbles on her for the first time, but I didn't feel like she even needed them. I told Jason and Eric, you guys school these 3 or 4 next week. I'm going to be gone away. Take the hobbles off Sister Solange, just see how she feels. If she needs them back on, we'll put them back on, but she's very close to being ready and looking very, very good. Where are we at now? Smoking Hot Irish Girls back in now, jogging, training, not a whole lot to report there. Spitfire Overseas, same thing, he's beginning to train also. Swinging Senorita trained the other day. She made a break the other day. No hobbles. We got to get flip-flops on her. The track was really hard the other day. He said she was a little choppy in the turns. She looked to me like she was getting up close to her elbow also by Nick, and he said, hey, that filly that Joe Cramp's going with is really close to her elbows. Again, chop the toes off her, get the flip-flops on her, put the hobbles back on her, and start going forward. No rush with her, but I don't want to see very many of those breaks. Tactical Mounds, again, like leaps and bounds, massive. She is huge now. Put on a ton of weight and grew up massively. I can't wait to see how this filly trains back. She's not close to training yet, but she looks amazing. Tailgate Buzz, we talked about him at the start. He trained good the other day. I was happy with him. Warwi Yuri's starting to look good now. A lot of people saying, when is the timeline for Warwi Yuri? When are we going to make a decision? There's no decision to be made. We didn't turn Warwi Yuri out because he was no good and we wanted to see if he'd come back okay. We didn't turn him out because he was hurt. We didn't turn him out for anything. In fact, I've told everybody he's going to make a much nicer 3-year-old and 4-year-old than he would have a 2-year-old. We trained him in 2-2, 2-3, like 3-4 times behind the gate. And I told everybody, around March, you're going to see this horse start to look really good. We'll probably qualify him and race him after the corks come off. We're on track to do that. The horse looks great on the track. And there's no sense of urgency with Warwi Yuri. And if you feel there is out there, I got to be honest, that's on you. not on me and not on Warwi Yuri or Mario, because I've told everybody it's going to take till later in the spring to get this guy going as a 3-year-old. He was just too big. One, he's a Kadabra, and they are prone to knee issues. So let's not push that envelope. He never had an issue with his knees now. I'd like to keep it that way. When it comes to him himself, he looked like the donkey, like big fat belly on him. He didn't look like an athlete. He's starting to look like one now. Now, I didn't see him train the other day. Mario went with me, said he trained very good. I'm not in any hurry with Warwi Yuri. For those of you out there that maybe feel a little rushed, I talked to Greg and a couple people like, how's he coming? When's he going to be ready? Just take your time. I know you guys are eager to see him go, but we are completely on schedule for what I've said with Warwi Yuri all along. What a mission back in now. He didn't grow up much, but he looks more filled out for a little horse, and I like him. I don't think he's a killer, but I think he's going to be a very useful horse for us. I can't wait to see how he's going to train down. We're probably a couple of weeks from training him first time yet, but he looks good in the barn, and Jason hasn't said anything negative about him, so I suspect he's doing well on the track also. So those are your 3-year-olds. I'll try and get the 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds and age horses done quickly and get you guys out of here, because this is a bit of a marathon of talking today here in the car. So those are your 3-year-olds. I'll be back with the aged horses in just a second.